came in from Waller, Texas, little bitty town, northwest of Houston. We do have a 30-acre ranch there that we have spent the last 13 years doing equine therapy for children with autism. But now we do a lot of equine therapy for all children. I was a 25-year public educator. I was a biochemistry professor for high school and college for 15 years, and then I was a principal of a high school for the last 10. So I've spent a lot of time in a lot of ARD meetings and a lot of time in special needs classrooms and really focused my attention on building this nonprofit when I first became a principal. And it was really because of the kids that were coming through my office. And in the 90s, if you didn't fit the mold, you were given a label and pretty much tossed out of a classroom. And so I took that and I started taking these groups of children that I called frequent flyers. They were in my office all the time. I was kind of like, get your frequent flyer card out. And so I would take these groups of children out to my ranch. And I grew up with horses. I knew the magic of horses. I was one of those kids they labeled back in the 70s and was sent out to the little tea shacks where they segregated all of us before they started mainstreaming the children into the regular school system. And so I grew up wanting all of my friends who had all different kinds of special needs to be able to play ball and sports like me, and because that's where they stuck me all the time. And so it was mainly just because they didn't want to deal with me being a little more hyper or a little bit more ahead of the game, and it was just a coping mechanism, which I'm sure a lot of you as parents have felt that with your children. And so I created this ranch from these children that I just started taking out there, wrote a lot of curriculum and a lot of programming behind what the horses could do from a perspective of therapy. And I found that these horses have a magic about them that really helps children to communicate. It really helps these children to build a trust level. It really helps them to build their own freedom and their own independence. And so I started working on my first doctorate at that time, which was ADHD, was really the label that most of these children got. And being a biochemist, I knew that ADHD was a chemical imbalance in the body. And so I spent a lot of my time studying mitochondrial function and nutrition. And so for 8 years, I worked on that doctorate with a number of the children that we had out at the facility. And at the time, there was no real true measurement tool. No way for me to measure from a biochemistry perspective exactly what was actually absorbing or working for these families. And so I didn't publish that dissertation, but I do still have all of that research. So about 3 years ago, I retired from the public school system. Kind of had enough after 25 years. I'd given most of my life to the schools and to the community. But I really left the system because it wasn't about kids. And it seemed to be more of a fight for families than it was a help for families. And I spent more time on the other side of the table trying to find things from a school system perspective that would truly be the decisions for the child, not for the adult. And so I had this 10-year-old nonprofit that I had built with my blood, sweat, and tears and every dime I had ever made, and thought to myself, I'm really tired of being a prisoner of the economy, number one, and wasn't sure what I was going to do because I left the school system and I wasn't going back. And so I went down in the pasture and I said the biggest prayer I'd ever said in my life. Talked to about 16 horses that I had down there, and they do talk. And I asked to be put where I needed to be. Was it to keep running this ranch? Was I to close it down and do something else with my life? Huge transition. But my whole life had been children, schools, education, some type of service industry. And so not much of a quitter. So I didn't really know what to do. There was no nonprofit dollar. You guys know the economy's pretty bad. There's about 300 nonprofits a month going under in the U.S. Some of you have probably felt that here locally with different charities and things that y'all are a part of. And it doesn't matter how good the intentions are with a charity. If you don't have any funds, they cannot stay open. They cannot keep providing those services. So the very next week after I had said my prayer all day and cried and some other things in that past year, I was on an airplane sitting next to a neurologist, sports medicine physician, who was in a clinical trial to genetically turn mitochondria back on in the human body. Now, I just told you that I spent 10 years studying mitochondrial function. There is nothing about the mitochondria in the human body that I do not know. And so here's a man that's in a clinical trial to turn it on in the human body. So that's number one. So I immediately vomit Morning Glory Ranch all over the man for 3.5 hours on this plane. Poor guy was trapped. And at the end of the flight, I said, so where are you from? And he says, Waller, Texas. And I went, oh my gosh. And I thought I was gonna cry. Waller, Texas, y'all, has got about 1,400 people spread out over 45 square miles. It is a little bitty town northwest of Houston. There's more cows than there are people. Wow. And so, I know, and there's a lot of cows out there.
How you like the mud states?
Yeah, I know it. That's true. So, at 35,000 feet, I got the big God blink. And it was truly the sign that I was not to quit yet. It wasn't time to quit. And so, him and his wife brought some of this technology and some of this information I'm going to share with you today, which has now become my passion 31 months later, is to make sure that everybody is educated on some of the services and technology that is now out there to help you and your families. And so that's pretty much what I do. I get to now teach. I reach more people around the world. I get to truly make a difference in people's lives, and I get to be a force for good. And that is what really drives me now. So I'm here today really to kind of celebrate what is right in the world with you guys, and so I'm going to share some information with you. I didn't bring a PowerPoint, beautiful thing I could have thrown up there with a bunch of graphics and had y'all really confused. And I hope that I don't confuse you. So as I go through some of this, if I get confusing, please just raise your hand. I'll kind of back the science down a little bit. If you want some more deeper science on some of that stuff, I can help you with that. But I'll try to stay about 7th grade, if that's okay. One of the things that when this technology came to us, I saw it as a service to be able to give all of you the ability to know if your body is absorbing nutrients. And that's huge. There is no other way on the planet to measure nutritional absorption in living tissue in real time, except for with this technology. Now, this is what was brought to me. Now, remember, I did this first doctorate, had no measurement tool. Now I had a measurement tool. I spent 8 months validating that tool with peer-reviewed research over 10 years that they had done. This is a biophotonic scanner, and it was invented the same place they invented the artificial heart. And it was used originally to measure macular degeneration in the back of the eye. And it was about the size of this room. And you would walk in, put your head down like at the driver's license, where they're checking your eyes, see if you can read the line. And it would shoot this blue ramen that comes out of here into the back of the eye, which has 2 Nobel Prizes on it for physics. And it would measure the level of carotenoids. Now, carotenoids are the largest level of antioxidants in the body. Now, we know after that 10 years of research and 50 years of them using this technology that your level of macular degeneration is directly proportional to your level of antioxidants in the body. So, for me, when I got this technology, I saw this as a way to be able to non-invasively give a measurement to all of my families so that these parents do not have to guess any longer if what they're doing with their children is working. There is no better nutritionist or dietitian on the planet than a parent of a child with autism. They know more about nutrition than anyone. Anyone. And they have to. They have to know. And so they've learned it on their own. And so part of the services that we provide at Morning Glory Ranch now is the educational, nutritional component to really help families day to day. What is it that's going to maximize absorption of nutrients for you and your family? So we've instilled some Ayurveda medicine, which is the oldest form of nutritional medicine. Focuses on the gut, the absorption of nutrients in the gut. The only way to measure whether or not you're absorbing nutrients is with this machine. Now, you can measure it with blood work, but blood work is a 24 to 48 hour stamp window. So if you drank a big glass of carrot juice, you can alter that score. This is measuring 4 to 6 weeks of intake. Much more accurate, gives you much more of an ability to make some lifestyle choices and changes without wasting a lot of time and money. And so this became the service that we implemented right away. And it was powerful. Because when we can empower you to make changes in your own world, now we have truly given you the tools to really help your children. And that's what we saw. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about antioxidants because I got some blank faces back there. Your whole body is made up of cells. And this is kind of 7th grade. I'm going back to 7th grade. If I lose you, let me know. All of the cells in your body that keep you alive on this planet have a job. Eye, lung, liver, pancreas, neuron in the brain, skin, whatever. All those cells have a job. The only way they can do their jobs is if the little engines inside of them are on. The only way your car's going to drive down the street is if your engine is on. Those little engines are called mitochondria. There's 52 genes that control mitochondrial function. And I'll tell you how I know that in a minute. Now, when those engines are on and running, the cells can do their job. What turns those engines off are free radicals in the body. Air, water, foods, medications, the sun, vaccinations. All of those things are free radicals that go into the body that are inert compounds that the body cannot use. So it shuts mitochondria off, turns them off. So if you turn enough cells off, enough mitochondria off in a pancreas, you're going to have diabetes. You turn enough of them off in a heart, you're going to have heart disease. You turn enough of them off in the brain, you're going to have a neurological dysfunction. Now there's 100 mitochondria in every neuron of the brain. Children cell divide very rapidly to grow. So they are making new cells so that they can grow. Our goal is to make sure that all of those mitochondria are firing when those cells are dividing. You don't want neurons in the brain dividing 50 mitochondria. You want them dividing all 100. Very important. So the only way to prevent free radical damage of mitochondria is with antioxidants. The only way you can get antioxidants is through plants, the plant kingdom, the fungi kingdom. That's the only way that you can get antioxidants into the human body to protect mitochondrial function. The only way you can measure antioxidants is with this machine. So essentially, when you find out what your score is, your level of absorption doesn't mean you're good or bad, doesn't mean you're right or wrong. It just is what it is. It's just a number. It's what your body has absorbed over the last 4 to 6 weeks. When you take food in here, it takes 4 weeks for it to get through the biochemistry of the body into the skin, into the tissue, which is the issue. If you're not getting nutrients to the tissue's dying. The cells are turning off. Engines can't come on. So when you get this number today, you're going to be able to know how well your mitochondria are protected, which is essentially going to tell you how fast or how slow you're aging. Because mitochondrial function is your aging. If you turn all the mitochondria off in your body, you're in a casket. Bottom line. That is the source of your life. So this number right here becomes very important. And every child with special needs, every human being on the planet, but my focus is children, so I really focus on kids, need to get measured every month. If you really want to be the victor of your life, and you want to take control of your life and not be a prisoner of this healthcare economy, you have a way to do that. You have a way. Then you can go home and you can make changes. Either reduce the amount of free radicals in your world, which might mean for some people better air quality, drink different water. I mean, I was at a restaurant in New Orleans and I couldn't even drink the water. Because I come from a ranch in Texas that has a 540-foot deep water well, and my water's good. So when I go other places, I'm like, ooh, I can taste the chemicals in that one. So we're bombarded with these free radicals all day, every day. So when you get home, you can reduce the free radical intake, fried foods, sunscreen maybe if you're out in the sun. There's lots of ways you can reduce free radical intake, which is going to affect this number. Most importantly, you want to increase the amount of nutrients that you're getting into the body. That comes from your plants. It comes from your nutritional sources. Some people like to supplement because juicing can get kind of messy and it can get pretty expensive. But juicing is a pretty optimal way to really get some good absorption into the body. Now, we focus a lot on the gut. This doctorate that I'm writing now, which I've taken some previous research from the last one, and I've kind of put it into this one now that I have a measurement tool. So for 31 months, we have a genetic product that physician was in the clinical trial for that uses a natural nutraceutical to genetically turn the 52 genes of the mitochondria on. That product's called Vitality. It's also called R squared. It's in your doctor's physician's desk reference. Okay? And that product will turn those mitochondria on in the morning, okay? And then at night, there's a nighttime part of this product that will genetically clean the mitochondria. Now that's huge. I don't know how many of you know what chelation is. Some of you may have heard of that. Chelation is basically a dialysis of the cells. It's so that you can basically wash them, clean them. What this R2 does, and it is the only genetic product on the market that can detox mitochondrial cells. And it does it through genetic expression with an all-natural product. So it's clean. Now, my research with this company, they only use pharmaceutical-grade testing of raw materials. What that means to you is that their raw materials are measured to a tetron. There's no other company in the world, pharmaceutical or not, that measures raw materials to a tetron. That means that heavy metals and toxins cannot get through the filtration system of the raw material. So it's clean. There is nothing cleaner. And so when I was giving this to my children, and I give this to lots of children around the world, when you start turning that mitochondria on in these children, and you measure how well you're protecting that mitochondria over time, you're going to have a huge change in quality of life for your children. Now, the children in my study are now talking that never talked. Why? Because I turned on some of the mitochondria and the neurons in the brain. That's why. So now they can. They're physiologically capable. All of them are physiologically capable. They're not getting neurological fire. The mitochondria function is not on. And that's the power of what's here for you. Now, as I go through this process the last 31 months, and the number of lives we've been able to change around the world, they are shooting a documentary at the ranch on that. You'll see some pieces of that documentary come out over the next 18 months, and we're actually breaking it up now into smaller segments of education that can be accessed by more folks. A lot of people aren't going to sit down and watch a 90-minute documentary. And to me, that was kind of boring, even though it's on myself, And so I was going, oh, no. So the editors and myself and some of our board of directors and our medical advisory council has chopped it up now into smaller educational segments. So I think that's going to be more beneficial for everyone. And that's really where I wanted it to go, was to be very educational. But you see a huge increase in quality. We have children who now really can change classes on their own in school, which was huge for me. That was part of one of my goals for them, was to be more independent. We were measuring lots of functional ability, being able to just have a different quality of life. Now, we're now in the process. We saved the ranch with this technology, okay? We now are building a 40,000 square foot facility. It's called the Force for Good Arena. It's in Waller, Texas, and you will see it. And now we are looking to put several Force for Good arenas around the country, using nutritional absorption as a measurement for all of your therapies. So if you have a child in aquatherapy, OT, PT, speech, music, whatever it may be, equine therapy, this building will have 22 different healing modalities in it wrapped around nutrition. Because what I do know is as I increase absorption into the gut of these children, I have a massive increase in their progress in every therapy. So how would that feel to you if instead of the child taking 2 years to get to an occupational goal, 6 or 8 months? And that's what I'm seeing. Children with CP, children with other types of physical disabilities, range of motion is increasing drastically. But just think of the basic science. This is simple science. Turn the engines on, protect those engines with antioxidants, and let the body heal itself. Let the body do what it's designed to do. Now, how fast does that happen? Every single child, every single person is a study of one. Why? Because our level of toxicity is different. Every single one of our levels of toxicity is different. Stress, working during the day, stress of having a child in a family, stress over money, whatever it is, that is a huge free radical of cortisol in the body. And that will shut mitochondrial function off all by itself. So everybody's emotional states are different. So you cannot put a time to it because their toxicity is different. But what you can do is measure it. How fast can you get those toxins out of the body? How fast can you do that? And it all depends on how you want to take control of your life every single day to make those lifestyle changes. Because now you can measure. You can come back in a month and get remeasured and go, man, that worked, or man, that didn't work. So next month I'm going to do that. So what have you been doing for the last however many years? Guessing. You're guessing. We're all guessing. We don't have to guess anymore, people. And that right there, that service right there is free to every child on the planet. Everybody that's on the Morning Glory Ranch team, and I have a lot of physicians on our medical advisory council around this country and in 9 other countries right now in 31 months. It is free to every child on the planet right now. Adults, y'all got to pay $10. We do have to pay for those scan cards. So, but other than that, it is free to the children. There's a lot of physicians that have this technology in a lot of their offices around the country, and there's more and more and more getting them because of the ability to empower you. And that's what it does. And that's really what I'm all about, is just helping to educate and empower you guys to just do the best you can and have the most tools accessible to you to do the best you can. So I am here to answer any questions, and I mean, I can go on for a long time on all this, but I think I've probably got enough in you right now that probably stimulate some thoughts. So does anybody have any comments or questions that I might can address that may think come to your mind?